Mm. Mm. Sorry, y'all. My allergies. It's just bad during the spring. It's pretty bad during the fall too, but yeah, the springtime is the worst. All right, all right, all right. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, what? Spaceport shady. Yo, that does make sense. Yo, me too. I haven't looked up anything about Space Force ever. Um, actually. Bro, we are getting a good store this run. This store is bonkers. Yeah, I'm using Raycons right now. Texas. What space operations is? What is that? You mean like the guys that sit at the big command center module or whatever in the space center and do all the diagnostics on the rockets and stuff? Is that what you're talking about? Is that what the Space Force does? Pretty cool. I thought the Space Force guys would be the ones that would that they would make like drone battalions out of and let them go fly hundreds of swarm drones at one time at targets all over Iran. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I mean? Like I thought that's what they would be doing. That seems more practical. Have, yeah, make space have Space Force learn how to build and fly drones, and boom, you got a drone army. Like literally. I mean, have them tinker with the new drone. I mean, the new mix that just came out, the new walking robots. Have them tinker with that. Make them medics. Make the robots medics. Yeah, so they don't need guns. They can just run out there. They get shot all the hell, but they're just running. I would trust it. Besides, if if the medic on the team was a robot, then it would automatically be updated with the most current information in, well, how to be a medic, a paramedic in that instance, or field medic, I guess, in this specific instance. You know, they don't have to sleep, drink, eat constantly. You can put them on constant awareness of the surrounding area. If anything wrong happens, they can walk up. And then they know the gig is up. Whoever's trying to attack you, know the gig is up. And then what they're gonna do? You get that walk walk. Everybody wakes up. They running away. They're not gonna stick around and try to fight. You know. You'd be surprised. Hmm? That's all. Wow. That makes sense. Like he's laughing about them being getting trained in cybersecurity, but when you think about it, nowadays, the way wars are going to be fought is half of it's going to be technologically based, and we're going to need guys, a team of guys or girls, whatever combination, what have you, that can either hack into the opponent's tech and steal their drones in gear, or shut them down completely. That's a valuable asset. Like he's laughing about it, but he's laughing about it because he served in the military in like 2002 or 2006. They ain't really need that. Now you need that, especially with drones flying around. You need hackers that can steal their drones and then kill them with it. That'd be pretty cool. Just hack their drone mid-flight and it just turns around. You just see like 10 of them just turn around and head back where they were coming from. Like, whoa, ooh, what's happening there? Space defense. The aliens. We gotta get them. What the? What? Yeah. Since you left the military. What pressure? I'm a bear. Yeah, I bet the Marines hate those guys. Ooh. Whoa now. Go on back there. Trying not to laugh. That's what they're doing. Huh? Huh?
And it's just a needle, like a needle and a Teflon casing. Um, it's pretty interesting. Um, just getting horses for that. That's kind of interesting. I don't know how you would. Until my wife told me, leave in the driveway. My wife said, isn't that the same horse here? We're going to manifest it differently. Oh, she's this is different. She's that. Wow. So she like go back and forth. She invested. Well, she is. Wow. What's she do there? She's in the lawn services program. Oh, so she doesn't have a PhD, but she's taken it very good. It's undergrad. She's really good at math. So how do you help with math? Shove the baby in her arm. Okay, fine. That's all. She'll come in and look at the whiteboard. Like, she's very smart. The mouse stuff off. But yeah, she's clear. She's like, no, you should look at this. Your boards, you're trying to do this setup. You're working on the same thing, just a different twist. As well, I can't be right. So I went back to my lab. And I made a needle, but I did it differently. Using what I thought would work. And I would do this on the website. You put a tube over the end of the needle, and you put Scotch tape on the tube. So there's no ion in it. You shove that needle in that tube, and you encase the darn tube. And I cranked up my power supply, and that thing 3-4 feet in the air. So I said that thing to the tube. Said, I guess we're working together now. So you have achieved how much force roughly now with your current experiments? Additive, somewhere in the 5 to 10 range. Okay. And so for people listening, you can apply that to like the satellite space in a microgravity or zero gravity environment. That would be huge. And these are your initial markings that we're comfortable with in space company. We all work at the space agency, levels, not just NASA, but peripherals. This is what we're comfortable with. There's definitely, say, unity, well, unity for space, unity for moon, and Mars, all over the place. We can make flying cars, Mars, all of that. So it's a very exciting significant development. It can theoretically lead to space exploration, help maintain orbits for satellites where there's orbital decay. That's what okay. And you can move these satellites maybe to other orbits as well. Like there's a company called Impulse Space. They're like they do like kick stages where you would move between orbits where maybe you go up on SpaceX ride share with another group of satellites, but you want to do a dedicated orbit. You could use a thruster like this to do something like that. But yeah, that's what our goal is. Super cool. And then what about like replacing rockets? Can we ever do that? This will get Earth unity. Rockets start. That's true. I'm to think about things a little differently. But could the 10 million turn into Earth? And could we end up launching things into space with this, Exodus method or this other? That's our main goal to try to do that. That's our self-launch component. Do you have surrounding self-launcher? Do you have the energy requirements or anything like that? Or we don't. Okay. But we're on the path. So we know what we need to do. Just have to figure it out. Have you gone in over the 2000 iterations? Have you gone in millimeters of thrust? Sure. Okay. Do you have a sense of the levers to get more thrust? There are levers. There are several. We're trying to optimize them. What are the primary levers? Like talking about voltage, materials, properties, breakdown strength materials, and the type of signals we're sending, physical limits on the materials. There's so many. What are the ideal materials for sort of well, dealing with high voltage and high dielectric breakdown strength, but we also have conductivity issues with geometry issues with issues with there are a lot of other issues that just we need to other frequencies we get down there. Satellite types, charge injection, electrics, things can get wacky. Yeah. So we are looking at something interesting, which materials now that have other properties, which we keep to ourselves now. But there's something is very, very interesting for us as people looking for. It could lead to nowhere. Yeah. But we're just looking at it. In the Townsend Brown context, dairy and titanate and business often come up. Are either of those relevant to your experience as well? We have some yeah, titanate, high powder. I don't know what the results of those were. They weren't particularly. What was the other one? Bismuth. Bismuth. I see bismuth a lot. Bismuth looks like fun. I love to test. There's some cool things that they found in art materials. Yep. It's kind of neat because it has that weird geometry in there, which I would get that. But to see that in real life already made, well, that's fun. Yeah, we can go test those exotics, but that's down the road for us. Yeah, we're gonna try to stay focused on what we're good at right now, and work on more exotic stuff. Right? And so, in doing these experiments, did you have access to a vacuum chamber? Because I feel like it's been a lot of the reason. Everybody always questions me on this. They're like, "This experiment sounds very simple." Because I always bring up the Townsend Brown experiment. They're like, "Why has nobody done it yet?" And I say, "Why did you?" I say, "People always try to explain it away in the ion wind, and it's so similar to the ion wind related experiment that it's easy to do that. It's always easy to say that you can't get ionization in the vacuum. That's number one, and then number two, access to an industrial grade vacuum chamber is pretty limited, and it's probably very expensive. And so, do you have access, based on your kind of massive background? Yes, you and I have access to a chamber. He's got one at his house. Very resourceful, amazing. Funded it himself. So nice size vacuum chamber. He also has the second one that he's gonna get online soon. It's almost a walk-in size vacuum chamber. So very pricey, but hopefully it's funny to get that thing up to par running. But yes, you have access to a high vacuum chamber for smart test. And let's describe to the audience why it's important that ion weight you can't get out. Because this is how I learned about all this stuff from Thomas Brown, and he used to do these experiments. So Thomas Brown is a super interesting, mysterious guy. Pops up at extremely high levels in aerospace. He was in the Navy for a very long time. He was at Army Corporation the year that Skunk Works was formed in 1942 or 3. There's an FBI document that is circulated now and out about him, and says that he's the lead radar scientist in the entire Navy. He knows more about radar than anybody in the Navy. We have a lot of evidence that his electrohydrodynamics work, this electric fields to manipulate airflow work, ended up in the stealth bomber. So you have like 2 out of 3 things that we talked about definitely being legit. And then the third biggest thing is I've merged electromagnetism with gravity. And he talks about electromagnetics and specifically 2 experiments, 1956 in Aries, of which we have a witness who there's an audio recording of a deathbed confession in 2009. Guy Jacques Cornell, technical consultant for Southwest, which is an aerospace corporation there. And they say there is a force that is not only measurable in a vacuum at 10 to the negative 64, but the force exceeds what you will ever see outside of the vacuum. And then he does the same experiment at the Monson Labs at the Institute of Field Physics in North Carolina. And it's this remarkable thing.
Very much.
2 out of the 3 things he's saying, probably right. You have, you're dealing with Curtis LeMay and the Rand Corporation, all these super high up people. And then this electromagnetics thing just gets stigmatized. People just kind of forget about it. And it almost feels like he's trying to get this wounded prairie chicken, where he's trying to stigmatize his own work. And so it's fascinating. And the reason, so this is very long-winded, but you mentioned the way people write off any of these experiments, including Thomas Brown, is they say that these capacitor experiments, especially if they take place not in a vacuum, you end up with an ionized air. The ionized air that bounces off of other air particles. It's basically just law taking place, and then you get thrust. And so that's very different than showing this in a vacuum chamber, or in this case, mitigated ions in another way. Is that right? What do you mean? I have to? Yeah, we want to see that. Right? You have to close to the volume, whatever you have to do. But you don't want the ion on the roll. Yeah. And one of the things that's different about the force we're talking about, the ion wind force, in terms of geometry, is that the devices will move with the wind. Imagine a rocket moving in the direction of the exhaust is. That's crazy. So you have to move the ion wind. Yeah, there's a lot of scientists trying to do things that the ion wind force in sense. It's not a pound force. There's no power there. Yeah. But the other thing is not. That's a different thing. Yeah, that's a completely different piece. And you would be an authority in your ability to delineate. So I can't show that. I do videos where I take those lifters and I put them in a plastic box and put on a scale. Yeah. And you watch the when you turn it on and there's something the weight flat line. It's not moving at all. It's like, man, I understand the difference that conservation momentum up there. That's what I am into. Yeah. So that's exactly like you have all these DIY videos of these ball forward lifters with tinfoil, and you have the ions moving around the copper coil or whatever, and then you end up with threats. But that is not this electrogravitic force or what you were calling, exodus force or electrostatic radiation force, whatever it is. That's different. That's another force. So it's important for any experimental physicist who want to put cold water on it. And the funny thing is, Brown himself would use the electrohydrodynamic stuff, the stuff involving ion wind, to cover for the electromagnetics. It would literally because it's 95%, but it's not. And again, she isn't just it's a way to control that. In many distance methods, it's treated like just another rainbow that likes you. And if you don't have one, that is all that happens. In this training, which would be as I introduce the fundamentals of running a two-game machine in one inspire assistant mechanics and the basics of quantum mechanics. And we'll wrap it up. So there are 5 scenarios which the law would end because they're not stupid enough to take on what Israel wanted to do, which is destroy Iran. But it's not viable. Scenario 1, this Iran destroys the Gulf Power and shut down the file line. Constellation. Americans know that not only as the nation's largest an American nation, population is wherever you are. That happens. Saudi Arabia, the process is trying to promote so or learn lots of alien or passwords trying to promote so they can say we do all the non-pass and they don't go countries out of towards our country. And it's quite terrifying, especially for the same about the last country at this point. But this is not available to black yes, I do. I hate to be one of those troops because it's also a side mission. They run underground military units and weapons to the troops. I have no idea what's going on. Standing what they propaganda, you tell them that it's what you call minds in the gospel. My team can make this report to show you how many people watch your show subscribe. As some of you have told us according to this, that you are unsubscribed from this channel randomly. So in favour to ask all of you, please could you check right now if you've hit the subscribe button if you are regularly on the show. We're approaching quite a significant mark on the show in terms of the subscriber number. So if there was one simple free thing that you could do to help us, my team, everybody here, keep the show free, to keep it improving year over year, week over week, is just to hit that subscribe button. Double check if you get it. Anything I'm asking you, you know, if you do it, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make sure every single week, every single month, we try harder and harder and harder and harder to bring you guests and conversations that I hear. I stay true to that promise at the very beginning of the month here. I will not let you down. Please help us. We appreciate it. Let's go on the show. Professor Steve, who are you? If you had to sort of distill it down to three areas of specialism, what would those be?
History of fraud, financial instability, so what causes volatility in the economy, and the dynamics of money. And ironically, I'm mentioning a minority in economics because most economists ignore money completely. It's ridiculous, but it's true.
We'll talk about that as well today. We want to focus on what's going on right now. There's so many questions. It's all quite confusing. I'm understanding the layers of motivation that Trump has, Iran have, Israel have, is it's a difficult jigsaw puzzle to put together. I guess the question that I keep asking myself is like, what is going on?
You can't get away from the fact that we've basically elected the mafia don to president of the United States. You've got a guy who admires the mafia is running a country. So what we're getting in some ways is a shakedown of anything driven by any sense of political necessity. So that's a crazy element to begin with. And the American deep state, as it's called, has been anti-Iran for 40 or 50 years. Israel has wanted to defeat Iran at a length of time. Trump is stupid enough, but also cunning enough. It's a combination of what Israel wanted to do, which was destroy Iran. They're now trying to do it. They're fighting that they've bitten off far more than they can chew.
Trump is someone who cares a lot about people's opinions of him. And he must have known that this would be politically unpopular to target Iran at this moment in time.
I don't think so. I had a relationship with somebody with narcissistic personality disorder. So that's something I go over and above what I learned academically that I think about this behavior. And so they want to be the center of attention at all times. They can't stand it when somebody else is being spoken about. It's ridiculous, but it's a pathology. So he's interested in people's opinions, so long as they're positive and they're about him.
So you say that he attacked Iran and started this war part because he wanted attention.
That's always something with somebody who's got that disorder.
Yeah. What do you think about his rationale? He's saying that he attacked Iran because they had nuclear weapons, they were an imminent threat.
We still don't know whether Iran has nuclear weapons. We know that Israel has. You don't attack a country, but you should attack Israel, not Iran.
You can't attack it.
I cannot make sense of what politicians all over the planet are doing these days. There's a huge gap between what politicians are saying about local politics, what people on the street are saying about. So people on the street have seen the Gaza genocide. They've seen all the conflicts Israel has started there. And I think the general sentiment in most countries in the world is anti-Israel because of the way it's treating the Palestinians. And that's what people are thinking about. The foundation so in this country, as you know, if I say free Palestine, I say that outside on the street, I can be arrested. It's crazy. What there's a huge divorce between what people are thinking and what their politicians are saying. And I can't give any explanation for that divorce apart from believing that Israel has something over our political leaders.
You think they have something over our political leaders?
I think we know about the whole Epstein, but the way that the Iranians are doing what's happening is they say they're finding the Epstein class. And they believe that there's something where Epstein has been working with the Israeli intelligence service and has blackmailed the material on a huge range of politicians. And that's the only way that I can explain the sort of things that politicians are supporting when their populace is angry about those same policies. So you get demonstrations, pre-Palestine demonstrations, 80-year-old female because being arrested, saying this sort of stuff. You go back 40 years ago, there was a belief in the public and a belief amongst politicians that Israel had a right to exist and it was all pro-Israel. And now, after 40 years, the type of abuses that are happening in Palestine hit individual and ordinary people's attitudes to Israel. So ordinary people are saying Israel's the aggressor, Israel's making mistakes, but the politicians are all saying it's right and anti-Semitic to criticize Israel.
If you had to give a one-sentence answer as to why this started, and you just come out with key things there, what would that one-sentence answer be?
Again, it's just trying to make sense of the senseless. I was thinking that Israel wanted to destroy Iran. They thought they could do it, and they thought they had an American president who helped them do it. And they aggressively underestimated how good Iran was for that conflict.
Why would Israel want to destroy Iran? What's the concept then?
This goes back to religious elements. The Zionist state drives that whole religion. And there's an expansionist element to Israel's behavior for the last 40 years. And the major rival they saw themselves as having in that sense was Iran. They can invade Jordan, they can attack Lebanon, they can do all these things. Of course, they the 67 war, they wiped out the invading Arabian armies in 6 days. They have this past history of being militarily dominant in the area. And they knew that Iran was too big for them to take on their own. They thought they could get the Americans in there. I think they drastically underestimated how good Iran was for the situation.
Is there a time to prepare for the situation as to what surprised Israel and the US? What is that preparedness you're speaking about?
Well, let's for a start, that Iran witnessed that there were decapitation attacks on other countries in the region going way back, not just the last 10 years, but the last 40 or 50 years. Decapitations had not believed that they killed the leaders. The leaders killed the armies in disarray, come in and invade and take over. So getting rid of Saddam Hussein, that sort of thing. Wipe out Saddam Hussein's power base, and then the whole system collapses. That was the Iraq story. But the Iranians observed that, and they have broken their military into 31 divisions. There are 31 provinces, 31 states, in that sense, inside Iran. Their military is broken into those 31 units. They've got their own failed safety system running in the background. They've got their own resources, their own missiles, production systems, all that sort of stuff. So you're going to take the whole 31 and then they have it. Sub-areas. So the only way you can beat the country is by literally bombing it up to the Stone Age, which is basically what they're trying to do. But the thing is, it's a huge country. I mean, look at the scale of Iran. The national story, how large that is larger. That's more than a half the size of Western Europe. It's got a population of 90 million, about 1/3 or 1/4 of the population of Europe, far more than Iraq.
And it looks like it's double the size of the UK.
More than double. I mean, one thing about the mechanic projection, that was one of the big statements. The northern hemisphere is twice as large as the southern. And Iran's in the northern hemisphere, but not as far north as England. So distortion gets amplified the further north you go. So it's bigger than France and Germany, Italy and Spain, and possibly Poland in terms of area. And then if you even see just looking on the map itself, you can see the corrugations there. But this is what you can see, the corrugation representing mountains. Okay, there's more mountains inside there. It's a horrendous terrain by the water. I think what Trump is doing at the moment is a pump and dumps there. He's trying to drive up the oil price, tell friends beforehand that he's about to make it, announce which cause it does to fall. And it's just oscillating this way up and down, and it's looking at very strange and very own world in that process.
Do you actually think that's the case?
Yeah, I mean, there's no one who makes sense of this stuff.
He's got to be hurting his friends economically. The stock market's going to take his in if it's not going to help. And his friends are also shareholders in big companies. So,
also, if one of Keynes' great lines was that there's no point in buying a stock which you think is going to increase in value over time if you think it's going to slump in the immediate future. So he's making an announcement which causes oil markets to think that the price goes up. We've given him control of the most powerful country on the planet. He knows that he can make an announcement that moves markets. He has no function whatsoever. And it's more than to cause rises and falls in prices and try to exploit them themselves and with his friends.
I mean, I did see that one basically on for Shelley's graph. I generally looked at that for me. Yeah, maybe, but it's also conceivable that happens quite a lot for brand changes same time every day. And it's also, I believe you both know that before the market's open on a Monday morning, she's going to want to say something really positive. He has a track record of doing that. Yeah, so it's conceivable that they knew he was flying because there was a track that he was going to be on this plane train. As soon as he pressed gaggle, you know, he's going to continue. I actually think it was quite predictable. If I was betting that, I would have gone Sunday night, the other morning, I would have bet on oil prices coming down, stock market going up.
Yeah, I like that. For example, one of the things you said most recently talked about getting a present from Iran. And then he finally went to what the present was. It was letting 8 ships through the Strait of Hormuz.
Oh,
Yeah, another 8, those 8 ships were not American, they were other fellows. But what he's thinking is that he's, that's when the oil market gets calmed down. That means the prices going to fall. So I can then do another pump and dump.
does explain the straight of those.
Oh, no, okay.
Because if you have to play like a 16-year-old, there's lots of courage in that. Some people have to be part of the importance of the region. What is the Strait of Hormuz and why does it matter?
Well, it's the choke point in the Persian Gulf. To get through, you've got like 21 kilometers here. That's an incredibly narrow gap for ships to pass through. And that means that all the countries that pump not just oil, but also helium, all these critical elements in the production system, all want to pass through this point. And obviously, there's well within reach of any weapons from Iran. So they can say, you do or do not pass, depending on whether we approve or don't approve. If your political country's attitude towards our country.
Self-fertilizer,
Yeah,
oil, and helium.
yeah, helium.
Where are they coming from?
They're mainly coming from, I think, mainly from the Saudi Arabian side. Saudi Arabia, like Iran will have the same things, but Iran will keep those for themselves. But Saudi Arabia is the main source of gases, oils, which are refined as byproducts. We get sulfur dioxide and we get helium. Is it the helium?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a couple of kilos of helium. Helium is an element which there's no substitute. So helium is inert. It means it doesn't interact with other chemicals. Well, give it a try. I've never done it. Oh, kidding. Okay, whatever. Give it a try. You got any real helium? Oh, bloody hell. Even in balloon.
Project, we're automatically checking and we don't expect the technology to right.
That's all the North Charlotte.
Transparent. That means no employees and no additional harm. It's our voyage. Is it Toyota of North Charlotte?
What a way of business.
I'm Megan Fox, pet professor at Dr. Flowers Foundation for Owner Excellence. Here at the farm, we know men and deodorants that are high performing and functional like they are. Sometimes they work though.
This change your voice. We did. I'll get my voice to try again. I've never done this before. I've heard it at parties.
Okay, now I think my voice has changed somewhat from what
The fact you can do it. Oh my God. That is a riot. Okay. Where is helium coming from? It's coming from a gas field, so most 90% of the world's helium comes from a gas field which spans both Saudi Arabia and Iraq. If you don't trap helium, physically somehow it goes to outer space. That's the ultimate destination of itself. So it's trapped in the same things that trap oil. And then when you drill for oil, you also get helium coming out. And then helium is absolutely critical for the semiconductor industry. It didn't matter 100 years ago. Semiconductors are important boards and everything. I mean, you take the semiconductors out of that, you've got to the processors, the CPUs, the memory chips, they're all made, and helium is an essential element to make.
For iPhones, our tablets,
Everything electronic, if you need semiconductors, you need helium. So you cut off 30% of the world's helium supply, you cut off the capacity to produce is 30% of the world's semiconductors.
And Iran blocks that down.
And that means that we've suddenly lost 30% of the world's heavy.
I've got a quote from March 2026. Helium expert Bill Holmes. He said, we're looking at a midterm 2 to 3 months shutdown of helium production, with up to 6 months before supply gets back to normal. And he explained you can't stockpile helium because it leaks through containers. So once supply is cut off, semiconductor production will stop entirely. South Korea gets 65% of its helium from Qatar in that region. It makes 2/3 of the world's memory chips. Economics reached an emergency investigation into the shortage. Now let's talk about this.
I know, this is one reason it's quite terrifying about what we're going through. Because people just think maybe oil's going to be more expensive. That's the sort of mindset we have. But in fact, critical elements of the production system are being terminated by this conflict. You can't produce chips anymore, and you can't produce these chips either because the fertilizers are disappearing.
So you're holding this in your hand.
Yeah.
How are potato chips going to be impacted by the war?
Because of fertilizer. If we don't have the fertilizer, we can't grow the potatoes. And it's not just potatoes, it's a whole range of crops. We need food, okay? We need this green stuff. It actually starts as brown stuff because the fertilizer is an essential part of growing all the food we eat. And the fertilizer is produced by a process called the Haber Bosch process, which takes petroleum and nitrogen and mixes them in such a way that you can put this on the field and your plants will grow to get the fertilizer. If we didn't have fertilizer at all, guess how many billion people the planet could actually support between 1 and 2?
And fertilizer comes from this region.
Again, 20 to 30% of our fertilizer comes through that region.
Through the Strait of
Through the Strait of Hormuz.
What's it coming from?
It's coming again from the same gas field that's producing the helium. Just as a side effect of fertilizer, you need I'm not a chemist, that's why we get these things wrong. But you need sulfuric acid as well as part of these production processes. 20% of the world's fertilizer, helium, sulfuric acid, all pass through that strait. And if you take them away, then you can't make microchips, which is what Korea is suffering from. You can't make fertilizer, which everybody will suffer from. If we lost 20% of the world's fertilizer, we'd lose roughly 20% of the world's food. And it caused global famine. We've never had this experience before. We've had localized famine in countries like India, we've had famines in parts of Africa, and so on. But this is not available with locals in famine.
And what's the last tank you've got down there? There's one on the floor by now, I think.
And that's pretty good. But that's petroleum. Petroleum tank, obviously, empty 20 liters.
So that's oil.
That's oil. Okay, so that's what we're losing right now. And people are focusing upon the price of this. But the really important point, I bring up one of my own charts here, is the role of energy in production. Because if we don't have energy, we can't produce goods and services. And the link is incredibly tight. This is looking at change in energy and change in gross world product over the last 40 years.
I'll go to people that are
So what you've got here is the annual percentage change in gross world product and the annual percentage change in gross energy consumption. And they're virtually lockstep and they're the same magnitude.
So when energy goes up, GDP goes
And
up.
when energy goes down, GDP goes down. Now we're losing 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas, a substantial proportion of its oil as well. We could see a 5 or 10% fall in energy. We also could see a 5 or 10% fall in global gross world product.
So it's been where is the oil in this region?
Oh, it's everywhere. There's one of the accidents in history that the oil is a large part is concentrated here, and a large part over here, and a bit Russia.
So over here, I can't see you putting Iran, Iraq, and then the United States.
And like Russia, you've got some of Russia as well. There's a small amount, like the North Sea had a substantial amount of oil as well at one stage.
And the type of oil in this region, I feel, is quite important.
It's very, oil, there's no such thing as a homogenous product. It's the same everywhere. If you don't get it here, you can substitute for something over here. It's a myth that economists actually unfortunately believe. They basically persuade people to think that everything is homogenous. In fact, oil from Venezuela is almost like tar. Oil from here flows like water comparatively. You need different processing systems to extract that oil than you need over here. If we lose this, we can't replace it with something like again. So once that goes, production system of the planet is damaged. And this has been the shocking thing for me as a citizen, has been the fact that one country can contain what 20 to 30% of global production will and food. That's a vulnerability if I've ever had one. And this is like what we're saying, in economics is they trivialize all this stuff and don't teach their students how critical this is. So most people will like you, even people who don't have a PhD in economics, or even worse in that sense, other people, they don't understand how critical and how fragile our production systems are. So people can talk about a war in Iraq and think, oh, that's a war in Iran, that's going to cut off our oil supply. No, it's going to cut off the food supply. And for the average person listening now, what will they start to experience if this war doesn't immediately end? 2 or 3 months in India can sell around fertilizer. That's there will be a famine in India. Food production on the planet could fall 10, 25%. And therefore, there simply won't be enough food for everyone on the planet. And then it's a question of who's going to start. Now, in the wealthy countries, they're going to be safe. They've like Australia, my old home country, has about 30 days oil supply. When it runs out, it can't get food from the farm to the city anymore. So Australia is incredibly vulnerable. We're all far more vulnerable than we realise. And this war is threatening everybody on the planet. I got a movie yesterday. I was with a wonderful guy who's actually really fancy for 2 a.m. I looked up on the screen because the Sierra Leone got in the back of the car to a great chat. And he said to me, listen, this isn't actually my day job, it's my day job. But then he's looking at the cost of living. And it really stayed on the street side. He's doing 3 jobs. 3 jobs. And he gets me up at 2 a.m. He's got a family. And he's working his butt off to give the family last night. Actually, I'm going to say something which I probably I don't say a lot, which came to mind, which is in the position I'm in now, I think it was a real reminder of my personal privilege that I think is really important for someone like me that doesn't have the TV show, because you've got to be like intellectually honest with yourself, or just like honest with yourself generally. As someone in my position who's been fortunate enough to go to meetings, that is, I can understand from having a conversation how detached you are from the world around you. Yes, just like you're a very unique soul because you like rented in history, of course. And you had that terrible period where you were unemployed and what the hell do I do? You were ambitious, but you were. If you don't experience poverty, you don't know what it's like. Yeah, and even if you have, you can forget it. You can forget it. You have it. Yeah. Well, this is why it's so important to have those conversations. As him saying, I'm working 3 jobs and making up at 3 a.m. in his Uber. And him telling me he's doing that because of cost of living, he needs to pay the bills. Yeah. Immediately when you think of this conversation today, oh my God, prices go up 20% for people. Exactly. You can't work 24 hours a day. I don't think I really can't work 4 hours a day. It's just one of those moments where you're back and out, so you can't. You need to stay close to the channel of people that are on the line. Yeah. And so many people are on this, so many people are in advanced countries, not just third world countries, but certainly like in America and the UK, there are some people who are basically hand them out. And the current system, so if we have a breakdown, they can't afford it. And in that situation, you can no longer use money as your way of deciding whether you can eat food or not. But we put the chief Vegas, as I say this, Trump is a very wealthy man, both are millionaires, and prices go up 20% of the time. He makes profit. I mean, he actually, once he sits in fact with the rising oil prices, well, they got a lot of money out of it. It's an association of rising price or something that I'm indirectly selling, that's good. He does not say, what about people buying it? People who buy it can no longer afford it. You've got you there on the table, which shows how these conflicts and the actually they put on some of these gas resources can impact our ability to go and buy food. I think you've got 2 bowls of potatoes. Well, let's actually make it fairer right now. Let's get the actual distribution correct initially. So you are talking about someone who, in your situation, you've got that. Logan has got this, and now he's taken away the oil price. That's going to make Trump better off. But he's down to the stage where he's not too far from that happening. And that's what we're pushed ourselves into with this war. Don't always take the inequality worse. Hitler came to power in Germany, the rate of inflation was minus 10%. It was deflation, prices were falling. Unemployment rose from very low to 25% of the population. In that situation, people supported Hitler. He revived the economy. We talk about how he did that later. But inequality leads to people being willing to, it leads to demagogues to say we can save it. And then you get more coming out of it. What happened after the World War was politicians realised that people had been through the Great Depression, which is horrific. And they'd been through World War II, which is horrific. And in that period, people in America were talking about a fascist world or a communist world. So the Americans realized they had to improve the living standards of the average American substantially to get away from that. And if you look at the 1950s and 60s, that's what is called the golden age of capitalism. That at that stage, you could be a single male supporting a wife and 4 kids and to have a comfortable lifestyle at the time. That was where we started from. So the war itself led to a focus upon equality, a focus upon fairness and getting as much as you can to the poorest in society. And then we've forgotten that over the last 80 years. And we've now got back to massive inequality once more. So I think inequality causes wars. The wars in the aftermath make people focus on equality, not to allow the war to happen once more. And then we forget and do the whole damn thing again.
One thing I'm surprising I learned the other day was that the country that is estimated to have the biggest reserve of oil is Venezuela.
Yep.
The third country on this list that's estimated to have the biggest reserve of oil is Iran.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't
Some say that 2 countries are there, yeah. The second country being America.
well, it's Saudi Arabia.
Sorry, right, no, that's already an American national.
Yeah, that's already basically part of America already. And something of the fourth one, Canada. And if you're listening or not to chapter 50, so who's going to take Canada originally 50 first day or something.
Yeah.
It's just, it doesn't feel to me to be a coincidence that the countries that the US are invading into capitalist readiness are the countries that have the biggest oil supplies.
Yeah.
And Trump has already said, immediately, he said, after taking out Maduro, Venezuela, not only that, but his wife and flying back to the US, he said that the oil's on the way back to America.
Yeah.
One might assume that much of the motivation here with Iran is when they were in negotiations with them, maybe they weren't playing ball with the wheel, maybe they were threatening the wheel, and maybe it's such economic war.
Maybe most of Trump's friends that he has from oil executives, and they can see the benefit for them in controlling global oil. The only one that they can't control is Iran.
But again, it's not quite pretty horrifically.
I think one of the great signs in humanity is it's look like corruption at the time. Then you do it, and you realise you've underestimated your opponent. You don't realise how difficult it is. Like you mentioned, talking about how being wealthy can make you dissociate from the problems that ordinary people have. It can also make you dissociate from reality in general. You don't realise how difficult it is to do something you want to have done. So all the executives and people who become socialised would have thought, take out Iran, America dominates global oil, then we're all going to be rich. But they don't realise Iran's been aware of this possibility for 40 years, and they're prepared. They're far better prepared than the Americans and the Israelis thought.
So you've got 5 scenarios laid out on these cards in front of you here that you think could happen next. I'm going to ask you to explain to me what the 5 scenarios are and then tell me which one you think is most likely to occur.
So scenario 1, which is the one that I think comes, I think Israel wants this one. Iran is destroyed. Okay. If that happens, we're all gone. Because to destroy Iran, you're going to use nuclear weapons. And you can't destroy it without obliterating it as nuclear weapons do. But that's the scary risk. I don't think it's going to happen. My main hope here is that Iran realizes that possibility that they've got a way to neutralize not Americans' nuclear weapons, but Israel's. It's a possibility. As one scares the shit out of me because if this happens, then we're all dead. Obviously, a nuclear bomb doesn't just blow up an individual target. Everything within reach gets exploded into the atmosphere. That's what led people to realise that you couldn't have a nuclear war back in the days when we had mutually assured destruction. As the policy, if you attack a country, then you will also die.
But can't we use our own nuclear weapons? Is that what we're doing?
Well,
Sort of
the country is small. You're talking about destroying Europe. The weapons you're to make sure you've got every last potential element around neutral us. You're talking about bombing something which is virtually the size of Western Europe. The amount of weapons you've got to drop to do that. And you've got to, if you don't get it right, then they're going to come at you with what they've got left.
The world is not looking at it before, and people survive. Other neighboring countries survive.
Only twice, only small weapons. The weapons we're talking about in Hiroshima and Nagasaki are about 20,000 tons of TNT. We're now talking weapons that are 20 million tons of TNT, the biggest nuclear weapons. And if you want to be a country the size of Iran and know you've neutralized and say destroy the whole thing, you're talking hundreds of those weapons.
If you had to give a percentage probability of that outcome occurring, would it be less than 1%?
If we didn't have a madman in Washington, yes, be less than 1%. We didn't have a madman in Israel, less than 1%. I think on 5%.
5% probability of that.
That's a possibility. I mean, again, this is trying to make sense of the senseless.
Okay.
But I'll put it at less than 10%, but still scary. It's a possibility. We're not there where we're all gone. season debut for the alien with some plays that is straight up illegal. This is going to be a hell of a year. A quick early start to the season was suddenly followed by a major scandal on October 3rd. Former head coach Chauncey Phillips and Miami guard Terry Rozier were arrested for involvement in an illegal gambling that involved the mafia. This was straight out of a movie, while also creating some serious and uncomfortable conversations around these things from gambling. But the world kept moving. In other news, Detroit was straight up eight. And Taylor Duran elbows and Thompson right in the mouth, gets it in, proceeds to let that organization are back. And somehow that wasn't even the craziest part of it. These first 7 days of the season, there were 6 teams at 40-point game, shattering the